Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Watson Michael from Ceylon Institute of English and Leadership. And once again, we are honored to have one of the best business book authors, Steve Silbiger, who's authored the 10-Day MBA, an international bestseller that has sold over 650,000 copies globally and that has been translated into over a dozen languages. Steve, welcome back. How are you
Well,
doing?
I'm doing very well.
Good
It,
to have you back.
well, thank you. I'm always glad when we have a good conversation.
Great. So we'll go on to an interesting chapter. Okay, what are your views on strategy?
Okay, well, strategy is the last chapter in the book. When you get an MBA, you have all the different disciplines, marketing, finance, accounting, operations. And then that last semester is the strategy class where you bring all of it together uh, in one course where you're dealing with businesses as a whole going forward, not
Mm,
just solving a particular issue or problem or a certain task. Strategy pulls it all together. You know,
mm,
some strategies are, how does a business expand? How does a business deal with a competitive environment? And those are in the strategy chapter. And if you want to walk and talk the MBA talk, the strategy chapter is where it happens. And this area also is an area where MBAs get the highest payday as far as their salaries. They work for consultants, and those consultants tell companies how to implement, either create their strategy or how to implement a strategy. And it's just something that when it comes to undergrad, it's just not really taught that well or intensely, but it's one of the main things that that make MBAs, especially top 10 MBAs, valuable.
wow.
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah. Before I go on to the next question, I had to tell you
Sure.
this. Usually, when I go on long trips, I carry a book with me. Okay,
Okay.
right? Because I love that book so much. Okay, it gives so much knowledge. So I'm still grateful that me and my colleague, when we went to a departmental store years back, I think about it was 6, 7 years back. I bought that book, and he was like, "Why? How can you learn in 10 days?" I said, "No, I'm going to give it a shot." Right? So I'm
Mhm.
really grateful, actually. Okay. So today I'm supposed to make a small trip and want to take this book. Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Um, it's like to be from the 10-day MBA, and it summarizes some of the biggest areas. But Michael Porter uh, and Tom Peters, although they're from years ago, they're still the core of strategies. There's the 7S model that you read about how an organization is the function of its different functions. It's interesting. There's the value chain within, how do you view your company in the chain of value. Some people start out all the way from the raw materials to the selling to the end consumer, and all those different places you add value and you're part of the chain. And when you review your business, you want to know where you are in this chain. So knowing what you're in between is super important. So what are the inputs into your business and how do you relate to those? And then also on the other side, who you're selling to. Um, it's a holistic way to look at your company for sure. And because of these tariffs, if we get to that area, knowing where you are in the value chain is super important. And some of my vendors at my company are under stress because of the tariffs, and we're all under stress because the tariffs were super high until this Monday.
Mhm.
And knowing where you are in the value chain, some of my manufacturers in China, they're not really the beginning of the chain because there are other suppliers to them of different parts and different raw materials that make up the value chain. And I thought we as a world were over the shock that we experienced during COVID, which made us very aware of the value chain. This whole tariff situation with the Americans and Chinese is also a similar shock to our system because we can't do regular trade on a normal basis because of this uncertainty. And that causes problems. It certainly does. Uh, I had mentioned, Michael Porter. He talks about the five forces, and it's taught at Harvard Business School, and it's still as applicable today as it was then. They're always talking about competition, and these five forces determine the competition in your industry. And it's very, very enlightening. It's in the book. It's summarized in 2 or 3 pages. Uh, but it's all something that an MBA needs to know about. So anyway, go ahead. What other question do you have?
Yeah, because I totally agree with you because even my mom being an English teacher, she's way past her. I mean, she's quite old, but even she loves your book, okay? She reads it, okay? Okay,
The new
great.
one, the new one you gave her mine, the new one, the blue.
Yeah, so the new one is still with me. I told you can take it anytime you want. It's on my desk. Okay, it's on my work desk. I told her you can take it anytime you want. But she has the old one which I bought initially. Okay, because technologically she doesn't know certain things. But the old one she likes it. Okay, she reads it
Excellent.
and yeah, great, great. So yeah. So you just mentioned about the tariffs also, Steve. Yeah, that's a good point. Now,
Yes.
what do you think is the strategy lacking there in
Well,
the tariffs?
like uh, there's a part about competition in the book, the strategy chapter. It's about
Mhm.
signaling to your competitor. And there are different ways in a strategy that you're going to signal your competitor. Well, our president feels like I will bully the Chinese and they're going to get my signal and then they're just going to immediately agree. That was his
Mm.
strategy. Well, we raised the tariffs, they raised tariffs, we raised the tariffs, and all of a sudden we have 145% tariffs. They did not go ahead with his strategy to say yes to whatever he wanted. Fortunately, on Monday, they got some sense into themselves and then lowered it back down. But that whole idea of signaling to your competitor what your intentions are extremely important. And also,
Mm.
what do you actually want in a negotiation needs to be signaled to that competitor. In the United States is very confused on what their end game
Mm.
is, extremely confused. Do you want all the jobs from all our imports to be here made in the United States? Is that a thing? Is one of your strategies to raise a lot of revenue with tariffs so we can pay the bills of the United States? Is that a strategy? Uh, is it to open their markets? I mean, the United States has not been clear on what their end game is. And it's tough to negotiate with somebody when you don't know what they want and it's not coherently laid out. And still, it's not coherent, and it's not clear what the United States actually wants. You know, the strategy that the Chinese are following is very well documented. It's
Mm,
called it's called promise fatigue. Promise fatigue. So what they will do is they will promise to do whatever the United States wants and deliver on none of it. And so by the time you become tired and fatigued, you forgot about it and you move on with your business. It's a strategy. Promise fatigue. Uh, and so there were a lot of there was a large agreement with the Chinese and the Americans back in 2017 in the first administration. They agreed to many different things about their markets and what they were going to buy. They didn't fulfill any of those promises over 4 years, and we forgot about it. Now he's elected again and he's starting the same thing.
mm,
So, yeah, strategy is very important for sure. Uh, and plus, you have to show what is your resolve in your strategy to follow through and not change your position. Well, the United States changed their position because they really didn't have a strong position. Uh, anyway, this is real life stuff. This isn't from the book. I'm experiencing it at
mm,
work, actually. So
yeah,
this area is very good to me. What other questions do you have?
yeah. So now, how can the companies build strategy? Also, is it limited only to big companies or small companies as well? Because some startups are breaking records. If you look at the DeepSeek, the Chinese AI company, it brought disruptive innovation in the tech industry.
Hmm. Well, little companies can have strategies for sure. They can decide, am I a marketing company that just sells things, or am I a
Mhm.
manufacturer who also markets? And many companies just want to be a designer without being a manufacturer.
Hmm.
That's a strategy. Like my company buys
Mhm.
advertising through an ad agency. We as a strategy could decide to be our own ad agency. That would be a strategy. Uh, we could design a product and not do anything. We could license it to another company so they could pay us a royalty and we wouldn't have any of the business. We would just get a royalty. That's a strategy. Um,
Hmm.
the 10-day MBA, you know, I wrote it. I sold it to HarperCollins publisher. I did not take it on myself to put it on Amazon and print the books and sell to Amazon. I'm just a writer who created the book, while HarperCollins, their strategy is to, connect with writers and publish their books. So everything, even small business, have a strategy, Is there a strategy if you have a small bodega, like a small grocery store? Is it okay to have just one, or what about two? That's a
Hmm.
strategy. There's even the smallest companies, you have to have a strategy. If I want to sell things to customers, do I want to put my product in boxes and take it to the post office myself? Or do I want somebody else to have a warehouse that receives my goods, puts it in a box, and ships it out? That they may be very efficient doing that, while I might be very inefficient at doing that. And that's that again, back to the value chain, back to the integration, which is talked about in the book. forward integration Forward integration, backward integration of your business. But even small companies have this. You might not write it down on paper, but there's a strategy to it for sure.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So now, strategic uncertainties remain. What is the best way to measure strategy?
Wow. A way to measure uncertainty? Huh.
Mm-hmm.
If I could answer that, I wouldn't be writing this book. I would be writing a book about measuring uncertainty. I don't know that. Uh,
Yeah.
there's an ability in statistics to measure
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty. That's in the statistics where you can quantify uncertainty, with quantitative analysis and statistics. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but uncertainty related to tariffs, who knows?
Yeah.
Uncertainty about a certain process or a machine or uh, the fluctuation of a stock or rain uh, or a storm or the uncertainty of a typhoon or a hurricane.
Mm.
Those are quantifiable things, but other uncertainty, you can't put a number on it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, how
But
important
I
is
do take that one thing in my business for sure.
yeah.
We'll start a new product and we'll make a
Mm-hmm.
commercial for that product and spend a certain amount of money for a commercial, but then we'll test it and only buy a certain amount of goods to test the product and to see if it sells or not. So that's
Mm-hmm.
very uncertain, but we know rather quickly if it's a success or not a success. And so we limited our downside because of this uncertainty. We didn't say, this is the best product in the world. Uh, Let me buy 1 million of these and buy all kinds of advertising without testing it first. So that's a
Yeah.
way to limit the effects of uncertainty by taking measured steps, stepping into uncertainty and learning more information. And the more information that you have, the less certain you are about moving forward. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you just answered my question. I was like, great, Steve. Okay. Now, how important is it to engage and motivate employees? Because it's a vital part in strategy.
It's your employees are integral to implementing your business plan. They have to be motivated and excited about with what you're doing. Uh,
Mm.
in my job, there's two levels. One, to compensate them through sales percentages, so they're highly motivated to make sales. That's one. Number two, making the job interesting and fun so that you want to go
Mm.
to work. Uh, Sometimes, if you're paying somebody really well, uh, you know, they could push through if it's a boring or it's a not a pleasant job. But if you have the both, it makes for a lot better environment, and then you're more productive. And then their ideas, you're open to their ideas. And that's another motivation, allowing people to make their own decisions uh, and use their own creativity and not hem them in. So, my personal strategy for working with people are to give them responsibility. And if they need help or they need training, let them come to me and look for help and have the door open so that they can feel comfortable trying things and failing with things. And so,
Mm.
if you're going to allow somebody authority, they aren't always successful, but they have to feel comfortable to try and to risk so that they can learn too, just as I did as I was growing up and learning as a young
Mm.
person. So that's how I deal with that. But at the end of the day, getting paid well is a good thing.
Mm. Absolutely.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. So, what are some important ways to serve shareholders and investors?
Well, most shareholders and investors above, obviously giving them a good return on their money is to have good
Mm-hmm.
communication with them so you don't surprise them. So open communication is good, timely communication so that they know what's going on in your company, and obviously a good return on their investments are very important. Exactly. I've invested in a small startup uh, called Click Therapeutics. It was a startup where I was one of the first investors in this company, and what they do
Wow.
is they provide clinical services, mental health services through the phone, through an app, and that company has been very successful on their business plan, and they have informed all the investors all the way through. And when something comes new, they tell us how things are going. So far, so good. I haven't received my money back, but it looks like it may
Mm.
go public. It may be sold to another large pharmaceutical company. Uh, but they have been ideal as far as a small company communicating with their investors. Hmm.
Wow. Okay. Now,
And
comes one of my
yeah,
favorite questions. Okay. What was the strategy when you launched the 10-Day MBA? Okay, my favorite book also, right?
right.
Steve.
Well,
Yeah.
my strategy was first, obviously, I got it published, which was I found
Yeah.
an agent, and that agent found the publisher, and we got it published. That's number one. That's how I
Mm.
how I found my agent was, yes, how I found my agent was a strategy to mine my, how would you call it? My contacts that were from my business school, and they gave me the contact that I found my agent, and it got published. The marketing part of the book, uh, one of the things that launched the book at the very beginning, it was listed in a large catalog, so a lot of people saw the book in this catalog and talked. Number two, this book was given for free, several chapters, in one of the
Wow.
first Kindle readers that was created back in 1993. And they asked me, said, are you willing to give away several of your chapters for free if they put it in every Kindle reader that was made back then? And I go, people will read it, a few chapters, a couple of chapters, and then want to have the whole book. And I was right. And it
Mm.
spread the word. There were 5 books on it. It was called the Sony Reader at the time. And so that spread the word. Uh, Another strategy is to have a title that's easy to remember. That was key. And so we did that. And then the other thing that occurred, which happened, but it wasn't part of the strategy, we were one of the first books in early Amazon on Amazon. And when you have a generic search for the words MBA, the letters MBA, this book comes up. So it's exposed to a very wide audience that advertising can't buy. So it's usually number
Mm.
1, 2, or 3 when you are putting in MBA. So any student who wants to think about going to business school, go to Amazon and look for a book about MBAs, and this book will come up. And then the third way is to be on podcasts like yours and
Yeah.
accept every time somebody asks you to be on their podcast, you say yes. You always say yes. Uh, you know, because who knows who you talk to and who are your friends and who you talk. It's kind of like pushing out into the world a good message. The book also is promoted by word of mouth, that type of thing.
Mm.
And everybody, and that's in the marketing chapter. So if you have a good product and you push it out, things are, bound to happen. Um, for some reason, another book that I wrote called The Jewish Phenomenon
Mm-hmm.
was was mentioned on somebody's Instagram in February. And this book hadn't really sold well for several years, like 5 or 6 years. It sold very little. This guy
Mm-hmm.
who has a big following found that book, and it became one of the best sellers in the category and still is in February,
Wow.
March, April, and May. And even the publisher had to contact me, what's happened? And I told them this influencer on Instagram is talking about the book, and people are going
Mm.
crazy talking about it. I love it. I hate it. I love it. I hate it. And just the fact that people are talking about it has brought this book back to relevance, and I'm happy about that. The publisher even asked me, "Hey, why are all these big orders coming in?" I go, "Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's an influencer like Michael Watson. He would be one of those people, and he puts it out there, and people talk about it. So that's how it works. So, my strategy was to write the best, most up-to-date possible book, and it's very different than some of the other books. This really
Mm.
has the content that is actually taught at top 10 business schools. It's not
Mm.
dumbed down. It's not, uh, you know, how would you call it? A summary that's so simplistic it's not useful. This is actually what they teach you, and especially what we're talking about tonight in the strategy chapter. I cover the major strategies that a company can go through. And it's within a
Mm.
chapter of 10, 15 pages. You get what I got at my business school. And not only that, it's been updated in the new one with some of the new methods and strategies that people are using to this day. And so I'm very proud of it. I talked to somebody that is a new student at the business school that I went to, and he led
Mm-hmm.
me to this area. Says, yeah, this is one of the major areas that they're teaching us now. And of course, I learned about it and included it in the book. That's the way it goes. You try to
Mm.
you try to make it as, I don't know, as up to date and as useful as possible. So I'm just kind of looking through it right now. I remember for this edition, one of the strategies people are looking at is looking at the environment that a company exists in. What are the demographic trends that affect your industry? What technological developments are happening in your industry? It's a whole different way called environmental analysis. And that did not occur when I went to school, but it's in there now, that's for sure. Um, so I'm proud of it. I think any of your followers who pick up the book will be very pleased with it and learn a whole lot, and send them in directions. Even if they have a small business, it will make them think and avoid mistakes, and at least be aware. And at the end of the day, like you were talking about uncertainty, well, the more knowledge that
Mm.
you have, the world looks less uncertain with the more knowledge that you have. Hmm.
Absolutely right. I just love this book. Okay, so anyway, it's there on my work desk now. See, I removed the cover actually, Steve, because I have to refer this uh, a lot. So I just use it without the cover. Okay, so still there the 10-day MBA. Okay, yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's
One of the things that I have also heard is, fortunately, uh, did you know most books are printed in China that are sold in the United States? Just to let you know.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. And when it came like for children's books, like 95% of children's books are printed in China. But fortunately, somebody with some sense with these tariffs exempted printed materials from the tariffs. So books do not have a tariff for importation into the United States, which is a good thing.
Amazing. Okay.
Somebody deep in the Commerce Department were thinking properly on that one. Yeah.
Mm,
Yes.
definitely. Great.
Okay.
So, Steve, any final message from you
You know,
to all the people seek
yeah,
motivation?
yeah. My motivation is for, you know, your followers, your people to if they're interested in business, they definitely can pick up the 10-day MBA. If they're writing their own book, this is proof that anybody with enough persistence with a good idea can be published as an author. It's it's proof that anybody who is motivated and as persistent as you are could be creating a podcast and
Mm,
have a an audience that reaches around the world so that you in the morning and me at 9 o'clock at night on the other
mm,
side of the world are having a conversation, which is a wonderful thing, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
So the world is filled with possibilities. Even if certain presidents of the United States wants to dampen those possibilities with tariffs, hopefully we can move past this one.
True.
That's my message, a message of
Great,
hope.
Steve.
Yes.
Absolutely. Let's
Yeah.
hope for the best.
Yes.
And Steve, thank you. Thank you very much for taking time
All
and
righty.
doing this
Thank
podcast
you. All right. Take care.
with you.